a classic 80s anthology with best-in-class contributors. Let's enjoy.
I haven't seen my underpants in weeks. No, I haven't seen my underpants in weeks. Oh, I haven't seen my underpants. I haven't seen my underpants. I haven't seen my underpants in weeks. Yahoo!
And hello everyone, it is Tom, it's FANzine Live. We are looking at classic zines today, and I dug back into the 1980s once again, 1988, February, for Epitaph, issue number 2. A gorgeous little book, digest size, saddle stitch comic. Looks like it was offset printed, which is always a luxury of the day back in the 80s. But you always knew that you were getting something special when somebody had enough of a run to be able to make an offset book. That usually meant that you got over about 100 copies printed, and that's a pretty good one. This is a book published by a gentleman named Larry Nibert. Larry was out of Southern California at the time. I don't know if he's always been there, but that's what it said in the book. This is a classic United Fanzine Organization anthology. United Fanzine Organization, of course, is the co-op, one of the longest running co-ops of zine makers and small press comics makers currently going right now. This has some members in it. It really reads like a greatest hits, and we'll have some fun with it. I'll show you why. We'll start with the cover. This is really indicative of the age. Artists of this time, much as the artists of the current day, the artists of this period were influenced by the comics that were out there. This is a classic sci-fi type piece done by R.M. and I should remember this. Rich Miller, gorgeous looking piece, almost a, what would you say, maybe a little Kaluta type look to it, maybe a little bit of Frank Miller, some fun monsters. Nice action shot and really well done stuff. I mean, the material that you'll see in here looks like material that could have been in the comics in the 80s. I think probably when the Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld era comes along, that cartooning like this kind of goes by the wayside, but the stuff in the 70s and 80s, that, you know, that's what we're looking at here. And of course, it's nothing like the manga type stuff that you see these days and that so many kids are doing these days, but we'll take a look. First off, a nice little introduction, the UFO badge, and we then get straight into Larry Blake, the late Larry Blake, one of probably the signature cartoonists of this era. By all accounts, a very nice guy, but he was an accomplished artist and his work was extremely popular. Guys like me, and I think I mentioned even in one of my videos when I was talking about Larry, guys like me were very excited as anthology publishers to get a Larry Blake piece for their book. And Larry does all of these kind of as little singles. This is something that looks almost like a self-portrait of Larry. It's a gentleman named Paul, and this is Nightshade, his character, his superhero character, who I actually drawn after his girlfriend of the time. So he goes to a Comic-Con and is hooking up with his buddy that he hasn't seen for years, 18 years. But the fun part of this is these guys, these three, are trying to do a little bit of a heist. They're going to steal the prize money for the costume contest. And so Nightshade, of course, seeing as it's a Comic-Con and everybody's dressed up, they even did dress up in costume back in the 80s, she immediately flips into her costume. And this guy freaks out, saying, wait a minute, we actually have a genuine superhero at this convention. You can't get the $1,000 prize. The superhero here, I believe, is a character called the Beacon by Steve Keeter, who is the outgoing chair of the United Fanzine Organization. Other characters I see in here, you see Ultraklutz by Jeff Nicholson. Looks like Captain Optimist by Alan Freeman. Might be one of the Peacemakers by Steve Shipley. A Twist on Mighty Guy by Tim Corrigan, and A Twist on Snow Bunny by Jeff Wood. Oh, and of course the Flaming Carrot, who actually made it into the big comics, the direct market. These other ones, well, no, Ultra Klutz was in the direct market as well, but these guys largely all stayed in the small press realm. So they have that happen. They've got their contest going on, and of course what they call them, the Green Brothers, because of course you can't be the Blues Brothers, but the Green Brothers do a stick up right there on the stage. Nightshade jumps in, you get a couple action pieces, and then they have a nice laugh over it at the end. And in fact, they say that the costume was just too plain because they gave her the prize, but they said her costume was too plain. So let's just go get a burger. And then they, of course, are all laughing over that. So that's a cute one, but I mean, great looking artwork. Larry did such a good job with his work. Can't tell if that looks like that's actually stippling and not Zipatone. But I mean, he does everything possible with his different types of shading. Really exciting stuff. And I think that's a really neat approach with that flying and the zip in there. Good stuff. Okay, next up, a guy who does use Zipatone, and that's Jim Pack. Jim Pack, in addition to his comic book newsletter, which I'm sure we'll look at someday, was a very good artist. And Jim also has passed away. He, in this one, does science fiction. He did mostly science fiction type stuff, if I remember correctly. Does a little bit of slice of life, a little bit of superheroes, but largely science fiction is his thing. And in this case, it's almost an EC style story, a science fiction story about this guy stealing this container where they have taken all the minds of the people. The robots have taken all the minds of the people and put them in these containers in a central location. And this guy's stealing a mind. You can see how all these mindless drones are dealing with their sad lives. But look at the work. I mean, this is really nice stuff. You've got some good hatching, some good line work, great emotions, some fun stuff as it relates to action shots, some variation in layout. I mean, for a 5.5 by 8.5 digest, he does a really good job. That works out nice. And then lastly, we've got a piece on Larry Nybert, by Larry Nybert. This is, as opposed to the Jim Pack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels on this page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this page. Jim goes larger scale and has essentially 3 panels a page. So my guess is that Jim Pack probably drew on a larger piece of paper and then shrunk it down, whereas Nybert, I'm guessing on this, drew at actual size. It's a cute little piece about how this guy thinks he's killed all the dragons. Haha, I did it. And then, of course, he gets fried by a dragon. Very cute. UFO checklist, heroic number 2 from yours truly. But there are some great ones in there. You've got Afterworld by Chris D. Ray. You've got Ditko-Mania from Bill Hall, now published by Rob Imes. The Future Fanzine, which we've looked at before, again from Chris D. Ray. Heroic by me. Orbit by Jim Pack. Plasma by Jeff Wood, the creator of Snow Bunny, who we looked at in there. Slam Bang from the legendary Alan Freeman, and then Tetragrammaton Fragments, and then a backup pinup by Larry. And all that for $1. And it's a nice heavy paper, too. I mean, this is not cheap photocopy paper. You actually spent some money on this. So glad to be able to share it with you folks. If you do find anything out there that's of this vintage and, this type of stuff, pick it up. It's often not that expensive. I mean, you've got a few of the names that their work has become somewhat collectible, but most of it's not. There's some really good cartooning to be had in this stuff from the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. That's it for now, everybody. Leave a comment if you're so inclined. Let me know what you think of this particular issue. But also, don't forget, like the video, subscribe to FANzine Live, and tell your friends, because where else do you get a chance to see classic zines like Epitaph number 2? Thanks for watching, everybody. This is Tom. I will catch you next time.